All right, Mr. Jeremy Weber, welcome to the Happiest Podcast, my brother. I'm super stoked to have you on.
Dude, it is so good to be with you and your listeners, brother. Just any more time to get to hang out with you is a blessing.
Hey, man, I received that and I feel equally the same. And, you are up to some cool things. You're a speaker, you're a strategist, you're a founding member and director of brand implementation at Brandbuilders Group, which is very near and dear to my heart because I went through Brandbuilders Group for my own personal brand to build, grow, and monetize it. And I got to let the happy hustlers know you are actually my personal brand strategist. So that means Jeremy and I are workshopping behind the scenes to bring you guys great content, to bring you amazing products and services, and just to help expand my mission and message. So Jeremy, you're up to some really cool things, and I appreciate the role you've played in my life and my business. And I want to talk about specifically today, blockchain for personal brands and how we can kind of marry these two very interesting worlds. But before we get into all that good stuff, Jeremy, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Oh man, coming with the deep questions right out of the gate. So yeah, I would say that there's a few things. I'm going to do a lighter one and actually a little more serious one just to mix it up. So the lighter one is, and this I don't even know if you know this about me, is I played soccer in college. So I was a D1 soccer player in college. I know I've seen some of your reels out there of you winning some titles with your pickup team or whatever you're doing these days. But yeah, man, soccer was a huge part of just my youth and growing up, helped pay for college, so lots of benefits. But yeah, so like I don't play anymore though, because I mentally remember what I used to be able to do and physically I'm nowhere near that. So it just gets frustrating really quick, especially when you play with other people that are like super competitive. And I'm like, man, I've been there, done that. I'm like, I got other things to be stressed about. I don't need to be stressing about soccer.
Amen.
But but so that's probably the lighter side. And then another little more serious one is I'm actually a cancer survivor. I don't share that with a ton of people, and we don't have to get too deep into that on the show. But depending on where you take this, maybe we will. But either way, like that's been a big part of my journey, and just kind of those are really real experiences when you go through something like that. Puts a lot of things in perspective. So just super thankful to just be with you today, brother.
Yeah, man. Wow. So first of all, what kind of cancer was it?
Yeah, it was testicular cancer, actually.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, which has a huge kind of cure rate and stuff. So, in the big scheme of things, caught it early. It's a type that, if you catch it early, it's not like too big of a deal. So it's 10 plus years now cancer free. So it's one of those things that, is for the most part seems to be in the past at this point, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a huge part of kind of just wake up call. Another story for another day, all those details, but
yeah, man.
But yeah.
Now I feel like I need to get my testes checked. I don't know. It's just, I haven't ever been checked. Now I'm like worried. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
you seem like you're in great health.
No, that's not the focus. That's not the focus of the podcast, but I will say that like, definitely, young white males, like it's one of those, it targets that demographic and
really,
the old self-check. I'm not the medical expert, so don't, do your research. Obviously don't take it just from me, but the old self-check is a good first step, but pay attention to it for sure.
Yeah. Damn.
What
I got another.
You're getting all that on the interview today.
No, I didn't, but I am curious. What position did you play and where'd you go to school? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So so in high school, like pre-college, I played like center mid. So naturally I was, I grew up in Western Kentucky. So it's like not super competitive and, like not a big city or anything. So I mean, so I was in the, in the middle of the action, right? Center mid.
Yeah.
But then as I started playing at a higher level, I actually moved to the back. So I played like outside back,
nice.
So I played defense. But I played on a super competitive club team out of Louisville. We went to kind of nationals and played at really high levels. And then and then went to Western Kentucky University. So it was D1. We played in the Missouri Valley Conference at the time. So we played like Bradley and Creighton and at Southern Methodist. So some pretty big teams that were top 10 teams. And, but we weren't like top 25 or anything. Like we were okay, but we at least got on the same field with some really good teams. And I think we knocked off number 11 one year. Bradley was number 11 and we beat them at home. So that's probably my claim to fame, the highlight of my college soccer career, but good memories for sure, like priceless.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love soccer. I grew up playing I played, ODP and like IMG and all that. I was on track. My goal was to play pro for the Happy Hustlers. Some of you know this, some of you don't, but I actually broke my ankle in half my senior year, first game. I was a captain. We just won the championship last year. I was on track for D1. I had talking to USF and UCF and some of these bigger North Carolina, some big schools to play.
For sure.
Broke my ankle, done for the season, lost all my offers, ended up having to play I had one D1 offer still left on the table with FGCU, 2 D2s and 1 or 2 D3s. But I wanted to go to Chicago, so I ended up just picking the D3 school. And it was fun, but my soccer career didn't amount to where I wanted it to go. But hey, God's plan, right? That's life. So anyway, let's get into this block change and personal branding. I mean, we've had some experts on the podcast before, specifically Rory and AJ Vaden have talked all about personal branding. I know they're business partners of yours with Brandbuilders Group. But just for people who aren't really familiar with what exactly a personal brand is, what's your definition?
Yeah, I mean, it's seems like such a basic question, but it's such a really foundational one that if you don't wrap your head around this, you're kind of pushing in all the wrong directions. You don't have the right context in which to even dive deeper into things. And so most people think of, hey, a personal brand is a speaker, an author, an online influencer, whatever. And it's actually wrong, right? Those are ways to monetize a personal brand, but they aren't a personal brand in general. And the way we look at it is a personal brand is the digitization of your reputation. Okay. A personal brand is the digitization of your reputation. And so at the end of the day, we all have a personal brand. It's just, what are you doing to be intentional about building it out? And then using it as a mechanism to serve more people, drive more traffic to your business, have bigger impacts, whatever it may be, which is part of the longer discussion. But at the end of the day, you have to really differentiate between ways to monetize a personal brand and then what an actual personal brand is at the core. And so, we look at it that way.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, early on with my personal brand, I had no strategy. I was just attempting to be everything to everyone, not clearly identifying who I wanted to serve or what problem I'm solving. And this is something that I recommend all the happy hustlers out there get clarity on and these are the big 3 questions that really helped me through Brandbuilders Group processes. What problem do you feel called to solve in one word? If you can get it there, that's the best. One word clarity. It's tough. Yeah. And for the happy hustler, just as my own example, I solved the problem of imbalance, right? People who are stressed, overwhelmed, anxious entrepreneurs, typically who, are grinding. And then who exactly do you solve that problem for, both demographics and psychographics, right? And again, for me, it's purpose-driven, entrepreneurs, typically 28 to 38, making over 6 figures, who want to achieve blissful balance, both, that personally and professionally. And then what is your uniqueness around solving that problem? How can you exploit that in the service of others? Those 3 questions, really are the foundation, the true north for a lot of these personal brands. Just in terms of, adding to those 3 questions, I know you've done this with some of the biggest brands out there. You've been on the back end with some massive, influential individuals. Is there anything else that these individuals should be asking out there, the happy hustlers, in addition to those 3 questions, to truly get clarity?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the foundation. So I wouldn't really deviate much from that. It's again, what's the core problem you're solving? Who are you solving it for? And then how do you solve it? Like, you said your uniqueness, that's that your unique angle that you bring
Yeah.
to the market in which you help them break free from the struggle and get to the other place. I would add two additional things to it just to round it out a little bit is what's the destination you're taking people to? Right? We're really clear on who you're serving and what they're struggling with. That's what we all talked about. But what are you promising to do for them? What's the destination? Think of it as the other extreme on this kind of spectrum. So the problem and the struggle, the other extreme is the destination or the promise you're promising to deliver for them as part of working with you, right? So getting clear on that, that's going to help inform the hooks, like the high level messaging you lead with to really grab people's attention and pull them into your ecosystem. And then the last thing I would say is, you're unpacking more details on how you do it, right? It's one thing to understand that, hey, this is my unique way of solving this problem for these people I feel called to serve at a high level. But you really have to unpack that and develop your own methodology, right? What is Carrie's unique 5-step approach, 4-phase approach, like whatever it is? What's Carrie's roadmap or methodology for helping people break free from imbalance and get to a place where they are a happy hustler? And I know you've got your framework that governs like how you do what you do. But at the end of the day, guys, like it's like high level clarity on who you're serving, what they're struggling with, where you're taking them to. But if you haven't put a lot of thought into your true thought leadership content, like your unique methodology, 4 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps, whatever it is, right, on how you deliver results for people, that is a foundational component to just not only your free content marketing strategy, which is a little bit of a separate discussion, but ultimately how you do what you do, period, in a way that really delivers results for clients. And the reality, people, is you can be great at selling stuff, but if you fail once you get them in the front door and you don't have a well thought out process that you take people through to deliver real results for them, things are going to break down quickly and you're not going to have a durable brand. You're not going to have a durable business. So that would be the only other thing I would add is what's your process? Like, what's the process you take people through to get them from the struggle to that destination? And building on that.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I mean, for the happy hustlers, just using my own personal brand as an example, the 10 alignments of being a happy hustler is that process to take someone from overwhelm, from imbalance, who is struggling, to a life of that blissful balance, both personally and professionally, and avoiding burnout throughout the journey. And this is something, it didn't start, this crystal clear. This is a lot of work with Jeremy, with Brand Builders Group, with myself. And also you have to reverse engineer the success that you've had. When I was a burned out tech entrepreneur, going to now a happy hustler who is making more money and impact than ever before, what was that journey like? And oftentimes, as Rory, and I know you talk about, Jeremy, you are most like equipped and best positioned to help the person you once were 5 years ago. So that's really an important piece to this puzzle, is having results in a certain topic and then building a process around it. I'm not going to solve the problem of hair and nail, I
don't know,
manicure.
Man. Hair looks pretty good.
Okay. Maybe hair.
Hair's looking pretty good.
Okay. Well, whatever. That was a bad example. Okay. Like doing something that I have not qualified, like manicures. Never done a manicure. Not going to solve someone's problem on that. Yeah. I don't know why I said that example, but anyway, you get the point. You got to be qualified to talk about it. And, one other thing too, just to take it a step further, you have to identify your primary, secondary, and tertiary business model too, right? Can you elaborate on that point? Because I think that's where a lot of people get lost. They're not clear on what is their main revenue driver. Can you expand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the core of this question, and really the answer, is really the reason why most personal brands fail. And I mean, if you're going to listen to anything, like it's where I think over probably 600 active members in our program, like we're working with a ton of people, and it's so crazy how many come in the front door working with us and they're in the exact same spot, struggling with what I'm about to talk about. But at the end of the day is, we look at somebody called Peter Sheehan, Sheehan's wall here,
Yep.
but it's basically this idea that, what are the best practices of the biggest businesses or brands? And when you really study them, which Peter Sheehan, somebody that did that, we pulled this from and have elaborated on his research, it's that there's these key points, let's call them inflection points along the journey and the growth of that business or that brand, where they were hyper focused and hyper disciplined about, as like right now, based on the state of our brand or business, this is the space we're going to dominate. And all of our sales and marketing and fulfillment resources, everything's going to be hyper focused and aligned with this. And then that intentional focus helps them break through to the next level and the next level and the next level. And you look at like an Amazon, right? Started off selling books, dominated that. Now they sell everything. You look at a Gary Vee on the personal branding side, started off talking about wine, the wine guy on YouTube. Now he's talking about whatever he wants to talk about, right? But the bottom line is that the reason most early stage, personal brands fail, and even some of our bigger clients that are struggling to get to the next level, right? Because there's always another level, is they're trying to sell too many things to too many people using too many different messages on too many different platforms. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is diluted focus equals diluted results. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do the deep work to figure out like, man, as of right now, this is what we need to focus on and dominate and own it. And everything else, we're just going to say no for now. Right. Yep. But we're going to be strategic about owning this. And then that's going to help us break through all the noise, get to the next level. And then naturally you diversify and evolve and serve bigger audiences and sell new things, right? All that stuff will come in time. But that's the biggest mistake. And that's the context to get back around to kind of answering your question. And, selling too many things. That's one of the things I said. And you brought up what's called our golden grid. This is at the heart of how we help somebody figure out the monetization strategy for their personal brand. And really it's their business at the end of the day, right? They're all one and the same. And so what we say is we need to understand both a short-term monetization strategy and a long-term monetization strategy. Because most people, they have all these great ideas. And if they don't know how to compartmentalize them and like put them out in the long term, they become a distraction in the short term. So we're going to take some of the longer term things that we know we want to grow into and kind of park them in the future. But short term, we have to be really clear about what is our short term primary business model. Not the two things or the three things. It's the one thing that you feel gives you the best chance to get traction with your brand or get more traction and continue to grow. But this is something that we feel good about delivering. We know there's buyers for it, and we can just sell the heck out of it, frankly, and align all these sales and marketing activities around driving as much traffic to that thing as possible. And we know that if we get traction with that, it's going to create spinoff or additional opportunities to sell a secondary short-term business model, right? So one thing that's in your short term, but a secondary, right? So we're really clear. Here's the main thing we're trying to sell. Here's the next highest priority thing we're going to try to sell, which would be your short-term secondary business model. And then we have your short-term ancillary revenue streams. This is the bucket where we can park multiple things that are on the menu to buy from you. So it's okay to sell multiple things. We're not saying you can't, but it's when you are intentionally and proactively trying to sell a bunch of stuff at once, when you get spread thin, your message gets diluted. You ultimately are halfway good at doing all these things, marketing, selling, delivering, versus being excellent at something that you know is going to help you get traction and create that momentum, like that flywheel, and kind of carry that into these next things. So at the end of the day, odds are, if you're struggling to kind of get traction and break through, it's just you're trying to do too much, frankly.
So true, man. So true. That quote hit me like a freight train. When you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. That is something I know, Rory elaborates on it, but that was something that I realized in my own life, wow, I'm doing too much. I just need to focus on the Happy Hustle Club, and like just really pouring into this amazing community, this tribe of amazing, entrepreneurs that we've been growing. And it's like, I got all this other stuff, and of course the Montana Masterminds and all these other different pieces of the club are involved, the book, the course, the Blissful Bouncer, but that's like the main thing. And when I realized it for my own brand and business, everything became a lot easier and a lot more clear. And so if you're out there struggling and this is resonating with you, do some deep work and determine where you are diluting your focus and where you really need to identify the main revenue driver, the one thing and the one channel that you can focus on and pour into your sales, your marketing, your delivery, your ops, so that you can break through Sheehan's wall. And then you could talk about whatever you want. You could sell whatever you want. Like, that's the beautiful thing. It's like, once you have that narrow focus and you break through Sheehan's wall, you go from being unknown to being known in that particular niche. That's when the magic happens, baby. That's when the world is your oyster, but not until then, right?
Yeah. And it's, the last thing I'll just say on this is it's that energy of, push, right? When you're on the, if you haven't broke through the wall, right, it's very push, like an energy grind, and you're having to get after everything. And we all know that feeling, right? As you start kind of breaking through, right, it becomes pull, like you're getting pulled into a lot of opportunities. And it's not that the principles of Sheehan's wall and discipline and focus don't apply. I think when, 4 years ago, when we did a 2-day strategy session with Lewis Howes, right, one of our biggest clients, and Rory and I did that together. And, Rory Lewis is somebody that's on a big level. Like he's big time. And he still had too much going on. And I think we slashed like several things that were on the menu to buy from him just to create that discipline and focus for him to be known for one thing on a bigger and bigger stage. And that was going to then create this spin-off traction and opportunities for other things that can come over time. So discipline and focus at the end of the day and the other advantage is just, and you can kind of speak to this, I think you experienced it, is the relief it provides for you. You're not juggling 5 things or spinning, 5 plates. Like, it's like, no, I'm going to dominate this. And it kind of creates space for you to just go all in and kill it at something that you can be great at and deliver great value, and then use that to just kind of get traction and momentum to keep growing things.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and Lewis is a great example because I'm friends with Lewis as well. And I'll tell you, he was doing a lot back in the day. And he even talks about, working with BBG, Rory, Jeremy on a couple of podcast episodes way back when. And I remember hearing how he said, I had to slash a bunch of things in order to really focus on the podcast, growing the School of Greatness, that was his main thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but then everything was supplemental afterwards. Right. And that's where it happens at all levels. We get caught up doing too many things. And in order to truly say hell yes to your dream reality and to happy hustle, a life that you love, you have to say no to just about every other thing that doesn't serve your ultimate mission. And it starts with that clarity, right? So this was awesome. I love that you kind of set the foreground for, personal branding and a lot of these higher level concepts. Now, what I am interested in kind of segueing us into is the blockchain component. Break that down for us. Just, a lot of people probably hear blockchain, they think cryptocurrencies, but those are different. They're 2 different things, right? So just start there by explaining what blockchain technology is.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I dive too much into this, right, is I'm not your financial advisor, right? All the typical disclaimers, right? Don't take anything I'm telling you to be financial advice to go invest. And I also want to say that, like, this is a journey that we're all on. Blockchain technology and Web3 and all the things that come with that is evolving by the second, and it's rapid. And so I don't pretend to be the guru and the know-it-all with this. I continue to try to learn every day to keep up and understand what's happening and how is this technology going to impact the world of personal branding and What do we need to understand as Brand Builders Group? What do our clients need to understand, et cetera? But what I will dive into today is just what are the trends I'm picking up on? What are some of the key learnings that I'm wrapping my head around that I think are important to share? And at the kind of foundation of this is really an understanding of being able to differentiate use cases of blockchain technology and blockchain technology. Okay. And so I think it's easy for people to hear about, and we're in a little bit of a lull in the market, so they may not be hearing as much about all this crypto stuff now. But the reality is you're probably hearing about digital currencies, so cryptocurrency, right? You're hearing about digital artwork in the form of NFTs that, Bored Ape Yacht Club, like whatever, like all these big projects. And the ridiculous amount of money that people are paying to kind of secure some of these things. But what's really important is those are two of many use cases of kind of blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is really at the core of it. It's a underlying kind of newer technology. It's been around for several years now, so it's not brand new, but it's becoming more mainstream. And the easiest way that I have found, really just from my research, to think about blockchain is it's a way to digitally store information in a way that I want to say is trustless, right? Is that, hey, the internet and, like storing information digitally, like we're on the internet, you consume stuff all the time, right? It's not new, but a way to digitally store information where I know with a high level of confidence that, I can retrieve that information and I know it's mine, or I know nobody else manipulated it, or some centralized entity had control to maybe change something. That is kind of at the core of blockchain. And I think money, cryptocurrency, is the best example of this. So you think about it, Carrie, you got dollar bills, some fiat currency, right? So like some money you hold, and it's like, man, that's important. Like I can feel it, I can touch it, right? Like I know I own that. So the idea that some technology can be used to say that, hey, Carrie, no longer are you going to maybe have the dollar bill. We're gonna store that dollar bill or that currency digitally, and you can use it to pay for things, or you can give that dollar to Jeremy and say, now Jeremy owns the dollar. Like it's money, but it's stored digitally in a way that we actually trust. Like I have confidence in this technology that it can actually store information in a way that I know my money is safe and it belongs to me, and I spend it, I give it away, I do whatever with it, right? But that's one specific use case. Obviously, the one with artwork is similar. NFTs is like, hey, Carrie, you own this digital piece of art and you can resell it, or you can hold it, or you can do whatever. But I know you don't have a physical piece of art, right? That's a digital thing, which that opens up a whole world of like, I took a screenshot of your digital art and I have it too, and we don't have to get into all that today, but it's like, at the end of the day, the bottom line is I can use blockchain to securely store information, and that creates a level of trust and kind of efficiency that has never been capable before, which is unlocking basically it's unlocking the future of the internet, right? And that's why they call it Web 3. We're very much in Web 2 right now. There was Web 1. Now we live in Web 2. And blockchain technology is really powering Web 3.0, which is the future. So that's why we all need to be paying attention to this stuff and just understanding how is it going to impact my industry in some form or fashion, because it will at scale. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I mean, it is the future, and the best way that I understood the blockchain technology, crypto, fiat currency, at least in my own psyche, was when recently in the pandemic, we printed a ton of money, right? Like, I don't know the exact stat. I think people have said 34% of all like US dollars were printed or just changed on the US, Fed ledger in the past 2-3 years, which is bananas. Like, Think of
Crazy.
your dollar right now in your wallet being devalued exponentially because of all this new supply that was introduced, supply and demand economics, like as the supply decreases, the demand increases, right? So this is something that it was just hit me like a light bulb moment, because I realized, okay, my money is controlled by a centralized, authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crypto is decentralized, meaning there is no true governing body. The technology runs itself. Correct me if any of this is off, but this is my interpretation, right?
Oh,
Crypto
yeah, right.
and blockchain is its own, ecosystem. There is no centralized authority that can decide, hey, we're going to alter the ledger or the blockchain. It is built in a way that is trustless, as Jeremy put it. And so that was like one of those moments. And I just heard Michael Saylor, who's a big, crypto investor and blockchain enthusiast. He was on Tom Bilyeu's podcast, Impact Theory, and he was talking about, would you rather put all of your holdings in the Zimbabwe, currency, in the Argentine, currency, the US currency, or into a cryptocurrency that you have 100% autonomy and it's trustless? There's no, centralized body. Because if, let's say you have all of your assets in, the Zimbabwe, currency, well, you are beholden to their rules, regulations, and how the powers that be in that particular government run the country is very much going to determine the value of your assets. So why not invest into something that is trustless, that has a decentralized, like technology behind it? And that was like, whoa, that makes a ton of sense. So now I'm moving everything over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, remember, diversification is the key, Carrie. So
amen.
I probably
yes.
It's
not everything.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's volatile, right? I mean, it's like the wild, wild west. I mean, I think there's still, as of the recording of this, right, there's not a ton of regulation, which creates uncertainty and, like all the negative that comes with that. So it is the front, like the new frontier, a lot of unknown, things changing all the time. So you definitely need to proceed with caution. Like that's what the kind of the theme throughout all this is, like, be aware of what's coming. And based on your type of business, there may be opportunities right now that you can take advantage of. For others, it may be down the road a little bit, but just be aware of what's coming and be thinking about how to position your personal brand and your business to be ready to take advantage of the future of the internet, which is really what all this is. And it's just, it's always going to change and it's fluid. So be ready to be disrupted and but it is something that's going to have a major impact on basically every sector of the economy. So you want to pay attention to it.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, I just also heard Bedros Keuilian talking about liquidity and mobility are the two most important, factors when experiencing an economic downturn or some type of massive, let's call it a world war. Like liquidity and mobility are truly what you need to focus on in order to best protect yourself,
For sure.
And I think just being flexible, being innovative, looking at the blockchain technology when it comes to your brand, your business, your industry, you have to think about just the adoption curve. Like there's early adopters in every sector, and then it becomes more mainstream, and then there's bandwagoners who then hop on after them, and then it starts to dissipate, and then downturns, and then you're kind of like the late adopters, and then it's too late. So where do you want to fall on the adoption curve? Like truly, do you want to kick yourself in 10 years saying, damn, I wish I would have bought in at Bitcoin when it was 19,000, right? Or do you want to wait until it becomes safer, less risky. Like, you will be rewarded by your risk tolerance, truly. And I think it's really important to have a 10-year time horizon with any investment, with any, that's one thing Michael Saylor talked about, is like, don't look at Bitcoin right now. Look at the technology and where we're going and have that 10-year time horizon. That, I think, is important. When you do look at that 10-year time horizon, like for personal branding specifically, how do you see it playing out, blockchain and personal branding?
Yeah, it's a great question. So at the heart of this, why I get so excited about blockchain is really two reasons. One, I've got a technology background, so I'm just kind of more interested in tech, and especially new kind of emerging tech that's exciting and solves a lot of problems. But two, is you alluded to this, at the heart of blockchain is this idea of decentralization, right? So decentralized finance, decentralized autonomous organizations, like decentralized whatever. And so the idea is rather than centralized institutions, right? It's so where's it going? If it's not with a centralized institution, more authority and influence is shifting to individuals, right? And what is a personal brand? It's an individual, right? So at the end of the day, there's no question that as this technology takes off more and more, you're going to see the individual having more influence, the individual having more authority, right? And so more control. And I think one of probably the biggest examples of this, it's early days, but it's really exciting, is that most personal brands, they obviously understand the role of social media, big social media companies, and how much money they make, right? When they kind of control your platform and your audience and what information you share that gets out, and being able to monetize, your content. And so there's some really kind of exciting new projects or developments around decentralized social media, right? Where it's like, hey, no longer is it like I've got my Meta or my Instagram, my Facebook kind of followers, I got my Twitter followers, I got my LinkedIn followers. It's like, no, there's one person, that person is Carrie Jack. There's one group of people that follow Carrie Jack, right? Carrie gets to control what he communicates to them, when he communicates to them, right? And so you're now in control. And then there will be naturally these apps, right? Decentralized social media apps that are the interface between the content you put out and your consumers. But can you just imagine the day where it's not like, man, I gotta post my stuff on 5 different platforms, or I'm killing it on Instagram, but it's not here. I feel like 80% of the people is kind of the same audience or something, right? So there's just all of this siloed stuff, right? And this is just looking at one industry, one use case around social media, all these kind of siloed businesses and siloed sets of information that at the end of the day aren't, and I'm not saying they're all bad by any means. Like, these platforms have created huge opportunities for a lot of people, but there's some improvements, right? And I think at the heart of it is, how do we shift a little more of the responsibility and the ownership and the opportunity to the individual, where they're in a little more control of this at scale? And that's just one of them. So, I think for me, when I look out over kind of the 10-year horizon, I see a fundamental shift in that landscape is one, right? And that's big, and there's big players, and it may be that some of those big companies kind of start embracing the technology and they now kind of morph a little bit, or it could be that there's new players that disrupt them. I think it's to be determined, but decentralized social is a big kind of element of this whole kind of Web3 space that is something just to kind of keep an eye on. But it's out there again. Like, you don't want to get too distracted with it in the short term. The other thing that I'm like super excited about when it comes to kind of blockchain and personal branding is this idea of shared ownership. And I don't know if you've kind of dug into this much, but like for me, when I've looked at all the use cases and all the opportunities, this has been the biggest one that is kind of like a big light bulb moment for me. And we saw Gary Vee did this with his book launch and the V Friends kind of collection and all that. We've seen some kind of typical personal brands embracing this. But at the heart of it is this idea of how do we align incentives between some three key stakeholder groups, right? There's typically like owners of a company. It could be internal kind of founders or investors. There's employees, and then there's clients, right? And oftentimes they kind of have a symbiotic relationship, but they aren't all like fully aligned around incentives, right? And so, hey, I sell something to customers, they buy it, I service them. Hey, it's kind of like an arm's length relationship. But when you can basically take this idea of blockchain, right? Take blockchain technology and create fractionalized ownership opportunities around things you're selling. So kind of take a membership program or a book or whatever. And we'll just use books because, like you've got your book out, right? We have a client I'm actually working with that's doing some awesome work in this space of kind of Web3 enabling an author's content, which is totally next level. It's really killer. So, but if you think about this idea of saying like, how do I align incentives? And if I told you, hey, Carrie, what if I gave you a really easy way to basically allow your members to have fractional ownership in this thing you're selling, this membership community that you're selling, or this book that you're selling? Naturally, that takes it from, hey, I'm trying to sell you something and I would love for you to promote it because you believe in me and you love the content. Some people do that. And that's great. But at the end of the day, it's not nearly as powerful as saying, I've architected this offering, a book, a membership program, a mastermind, whatever, to have a shared ownership model powered by the blockchain, right? Because think about it, historically, there was no way to say, like, I want to take, 50% ownership of this thing and distribute it across, a bunch of people, right? There was no easy way to do that. Well, now you can do that with blockchain. And what happens when you let people buy into it through like an NFT, let's say, that gives them certain benefits or utilities, then incentives are aligned. Now it's like, hey, we all have an ownership stake in this thing. And so now let's all go promote it. Let's all drive growth of it. Let's drive demand up for it, because what's that going to do? The more demand there is for this thing that I hold a percentage ownership in, the value of my shares per se, or my NFT, is going to go up naturally. So you're truly activating your platform or your audience in a way that's never been possible before, because you've created this shared ownership mechanism at the core of it. And what I love is, you're all about happy hustling. So there are additional benefits on the creator side, right? Is that when you issue this NFT and kind of let people buy in, and have kind of this ownership stake in something, you're going to get additional money on the front end one time from people buying that you wouldn't have maybe got otherwise. If they ever resell their ownership or their NFT and whatever this thing is you sold, right, you're going to get a percentage of, secondary market sales. That's another source of revenue you would have never got. And this is all passive for the most part. And what I really love most about this is not even really the benefit to the brand or the business. It's the benefit to the individuals that, one, believe in what you're doing. They love you. They believe in your mission and your platform. They're paying you money already. But the reality is they aren't getting a piece of the action long term. There's really no equity stake. And what you say is like, look, I want to structure this in a way where it, one, incentivizes you more to want to promote more, but also takes care of you. That as we grow this thing together, the value of your NFT or your ownership stake is going to go up. And you know what? If you ever want to get out or sell that at some point, that's your decision. You do it, and you're going to be able to recoup all or a lot more, or maybe less if the value goes down, of what you initially invested. So to me, it's a more fair model. And I think why this hits me so hard is that there have been a couple like big times in my career journey where I've pumped stupid amount of time, money, effort into something, all to have it like evaporate in front of me and be like, peace out, sorry about it, didn't work out, and it's like, to me, it's just wrong, right? So if it's like, hey, how do we create a model that's fair for all stakeholders? And this blockchain technology and being able to leverage it to kind of create these shared ownership models and use that to incentivize everybody in an aligned way, help grow, like rapidly grow whatever you're selling because of that, and let people make money, short-term and long-term based on the results. of that. Like, it's fair. Like, it's like, hey, we're trying to take care of everybody. So that's, I think we're seeing really awesome use cases around using that as a promo and growth strategy for book launches, for membership programs, for frankly about anything you want to sell. So I think that I'm really excited to see more of that stuff come online and it become more accessible to people that are already doing great work and just want to, like, let's call it Web3 enable something that they've already been selling and servicing for a long time now. And now they can just like hit take it to, like, put the rocket booster on it,
Yeah. Wow. Is anyone else's brain exploding from the possibilities here? I'm like, just, it's got me thinking for sure. And it should have you thinking too out there, all the happy hustlers, because this is something that it's going to happen with or without you. It's the future. And as much as I'd love to just run away to the mountains and fly fish and camp out and just live my life, low key, I want to make a positive impact on the planet. I want to continue to educate, inspire, and entertain. And you have to go where the people are and serve using these new technologies, leverage this intelligence if you do want that. If you are really destined to serve and to share your message, the shared ownership model is very innovative. But at the end of the day, it really does create a win-win. And that's what I'm about. It's like creating win-wins. Truly, I look at like the most success I've ever had in my life and business. It's always been win-win deals. Like, there's always been an incentive for other people to win and myself winning and my team winning. Those are the type of collaborations that get the most traction and that actually succeed. And what Jeremy's talking about at its core is creating win-wins using shared ownership, leveraging the blockchain technology. I can think about it for, the Happy Hustle Club. People buy in, they have an NFT to their, 10 alignments framework. If they want to sell it, they get one of the original 100. I could think about it in an ebook format. It's an NFT. If you want to get this original ebook, I could think about it in a couple different ways. Taking it just a step further without, continuing to explode everyone's brains, Jeremy, where would people, yeah, I know. Where would people truly go to actually like build this out? Like, what is there a working model? Is there a company? I know Brand Builders Group is working on this stuff very innovatively, but like, is there a working model for integrating Web3 to a personal brand business?
Yeah. So, and just, at Brand Builders Group, we're doing research, right? We're kind of trying to understand and to, number one, educate the community. Like, we understand personal branding inside and out. We do it all day, every day. We need to understand what this emerging technology is about and kind of like figure out what's the intersection of that look like, and just to help our clients be prepared for the future. So we're kind of dabbling in it, doing some research. But what I would say is, there's tons of websites out there. If you are in a membership program model, and these are just the ones that I'm aware of, right? So there's tons more, so do your research. But as far as what I'm seeing, so Unlock Protocol, you can just Google that. That's a membership program focused kind of platform. And so think of it as, hey, I want to kind of gate access to content online. And I want to gate it with, hey, somebody has got my NFT that's like my membership NFT, right? And so when they hold that in their digital wallet, I can now, and so they've got integrations with WordPress and Squarespace, and a lot of the content management systems out there to just be able to seamlessly use the fact that somebody has the membership NFT in their digital wallet as a way to authenticate and get in to kind of token gated or, kind of premium content, right? It'll be interesting to see what they do as far as creating integrations with more mainstream learning management systems like, Kajabi or Thinkific or Teachable, or, the list goes on and on. And mighty networks like, Circle, there's lots of them. So that's one to Unlock Protocol. And then I know that I think it's networl.io is another one that's more like for creatives. And like if you're trying to tokenize ownership of a song or some type of, like Nas is an artist that, used it to raise funds for a new album he's trying to launch and create, obviously create a shared ownership where people could buy in to help fund it, but obviously would get benefits as it grew, right? So I think we're seeing, I'm not aware of any platforms that specifically specialize in books. I know there's one that's for ebooks or digital books, but something that is more for like any type of book. And I'm blanking on the the name. You can just Google book platform NFTs or something. You'll probably find the one that's for ebooks. But yeah, I mean, there's tons out there. They're always changing. But yeah, those would probably be the biggest ones to just kind of take a look at. At the end of the day, it's, and I'll just kind of make sure this is clear. You don't really start with this first. Like you need to have like, hey, this makes sense as something to sell.
Yeah.
And let's focus on selling it. It goes back to the basics of what we were talking about at the beginning. Let's get traction with this. And then you can start looking at how can we kind of optimize this thing we're trying to sell by integrating some of this new kind of technology. But when you take it like a top-down approach with it, it's easy to get lost in the world of everything that's out there and it's higher risk. And so yeah, start with the fundamentals and then accelerate with things like this by integrating it into the offer stack, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying, because I'm sure people would get overwhelmed if they tried to just start with this right off the gates. But what we're talking about again is breaking through Sheehan's wall, tying a bow back on it, getting known for one thing, getting very clear product market fit, solving a problem for a specific group of people, breaking through that wall, becoming known for that thing. Then you can integrate NFTs, blockchain technology, all these different components. Because if you try to do it backwards, it's going to be an uphill battle, right? To, again, if you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. Risk. Yeah, exactly. So,
absolutely. And there's definitely opportunities, right? There's Web3 companies, but yeah, I mean, I think start with the basics and build on it, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and if people do want to start with the basics and build on it, I know you have something pretty awesome to offer the happy hustlers out there. With Brand Builders Group, you do something called the brand strategy call. This is something that I've actually done, and I've been on both ends of it, where I'm actually helping clients see if Brand Builders Group is a good fit. I've been a client where I've went through these calls myself. Where can people go to learn more about Brand Builders Group and actually get one of these free brand strategy calls?
Yeah. And this is just something we do to serve and give back, right? I mean, it's at the heart of this. If you've learned something today and it's like, hey, I want to lean more into that, or, like kind of get more serious about kind of building your personal brand to just drive more traffic and growth of your business, then you can take advantage of this free brand strategy call. You just go to freebrandcall.com/JW, freebrandcall.com/JW. And you can just request, it's a 1-hour brand strategy call with a strategist. So we're going to deliver tons of value. And then obviously if it goes somewhere from there, it's great. If not, we just hope to kind of help you get clarity on some things, figure out how to help you have bigger impacts or more people on that 1-hour call just as a first step. So definitely take advantage of that if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure, guys. We'll link it up in the show notes as well, but freebrandcall.com/JW for Jeremy Weber. Now, Jeremy, I do want to ask you some of these traditional happy hustle hack questions, which are a tip, a tool, a tactic, something that Jeremy does that's a little unique in a couple different disciplines. First being health. I know health's a priority, being an athlete. What would you say is a happy hustle hack in terms of your health that you could share with the happy hustlers?
Oh man, you're catching me at the wrong time where I'm not placing as much of a priority on my health as I should.
Shame on you.
So I'll tell you, I know, I tell you, I need to be a happier hustler. But one thing that I have held true to when it comes to health, and I think like working out is where I'm not doing as much as I need to, right? So I need a little accountability in my life here.
I got you.
So, but it is like intermittent fasting is something that I've done for many, many years now. I'm not like super strict about it. I can only eat from in these windows. But basically what I've just found is with my body and what helps keep me mentally sharp, each and every day is I don't eat breakfast. I have black coffee, right? But I'm just like, kind of don't eat until, like 12, 1 o'clock. And some days I may not be good, but some days I'm not really eating lunch. So it's more of like a 24-hour fast. But I've just found for me that keeps me mentally sharp and clear and helps me just kind of like perform at a high level. And what I got to do is, and I eat pretty clean too. I mean, that is just trying to eat clean when I do eat, but I'm not always the best at that either.
Well, listen, we're all imperfectly perfect, but when it comes to fuel, you got to be eating, clean, healthy, organic, whole foods, in my opinion. And intermittent fasting has been a big staple in my life and my diet, and definitely has added value to my performance. So I definitely recommend diving deeper down that rabbit hole. Now, just in terms of money, I always think it's important to talk about money. Like for me, money is a tool. It makes you more of who you are. It's a frequency, truly. It's stored energy, will you? What would you say is a happy hustle hack when it comes to money? Maybe something that you do to save or invest or spend wisely that you can share with the happy hustlers.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't pretend to be the guru here, but I think for me, what I have found is that if you can get in your head, and really just a fundamental part of your being is understanding that I have everything I need, right? Like I've been given it a long time ago, and almost just embracing this mentality and embodiment that things and money don't control me. They have their place, but I don't worship them. I think that keeps me in a good place where I really live a very minimalistic lifestyle. And that leads to not spending on a bunch of stuff that really doesn't matter at the end of the day, and having a bunch of things. And so I think if I'm just telling you what is foundational to how I operate is just like not letting money control me, and being good with a lot of money or a little bit of money, and not getting all consumed with this consumerism, because you can end up throwing a boatload of money away on things that don't really fill you up at the end of the day. So if you're chasing a lot of that, you'll continue to be chasing things that don't provide fulfillment at the end of the day. So, and again, I don't have it all figured out. It's a work in progress every day. But like for me, just, not needing or having to have a lot of money. And then obviously as you do gain more wealth, being smart about how you use that money. But when you got a good foundation of money has its place, and it's not really at the center of your attention and what you're striving for every day, it puts you in a good spot to be responsible with it as you do generate more of it.
Yeah, so true. I mean, it goes back to just the old principle of, save more than you spend, truly. And then really look at money or earning money as a exponential endeavor, but you can only budget so much, right? So it's like when people say, oh, you should save, you should budget. Like, I personally believe you should focus on earning. You should focus on that exponential potential for abundance, because that is going to be far greater use of your time, energy, and bandwidth to focus on earning more and adding more value to the world and serving problems and for other people. That's how, if you want to make more money, that's really where you got to focus, in my opinion. So yeah, those are great points there, Jeremy. Let's talk about spirituality. Just, maybe a happy hustle hack in this arena, something that you do to connect to a higher power. For me, again, I was a religious mutt. My mom was Jewish, my dad's Catholic, and we grew up spiritual, having, a higher power at the forefront. I pray every day. I'm very spiritual, but not religious. But I'm curious if you have something in the spiritual arena that you could share, a happy hustle hack, something that you do to connect to higher power.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fundamental part of my day and my being. Is my morning routine. And basically I've been doing it for, I don't know how many years at this point. And the actual process has evolved, because you can kind of like get in a, feel like you're going through the motions a little bit with things, and you have to intentionally shake them up to kind of like make sure they continue to be valuable. But my morning routine consists of probably a couple key things, right? It's meditation. I go through a 10-minute meditation routine that's based in kind of deep breathing, box breathing,
Nice.
and a combination of, scanning. So I'll give you the short and sweet of it, but, box breathing that's based in scanning the body. So in and out and through leg, arm, like all the parts of the body, right? And then as I'm doing that is baking in affirmations into each of those. So on the inhale, right, I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm saying it to myself, right? Is what are these key affirmations I need to be keeping top of mind that are applicable right now? So that combo of meditation that's grounded in breathing and affirmations, right? And spirituality, there's certain affirmations that are grounded in, God has given me everything I've ever needed, and he gave it to me a long time ago, and I lack for nothing, right? Like that's kind of that mindset of like, I don't need a lot, right? Like I'm good either way. So that's just one of many affirmations, but that is kind of the core. And it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to run through that kind of meditation and breathing and affirmation routine. And then journaling, which I don't always do as good a job as I need to with this, but just taking some time on the back end to, hopefully you've heard something, or, during that meditation routine, I have some space at the end where I'm silent. I'm not saying stuff. I'm just trying to listen and be open to, whatever God has to say to me in the moment. And, so it's kind of like creating some space on the back end to just get thoughts out of your head and down on a journal is another key thing for me. But that's another area where I need to do a little better job of always journaling. But the meditation piece, I always do that. So
that's a great routine. I mean, I do all those things: meditation, breath work, affirmations, journaling, hyperhydrating, movement, sunlight. Like these are just staples of a high performer's routine and someone who really wants to be more connected and spiritual. So those are great, Jeremy. And man, this has been phenomenal. I do want to put you through the rapid fire round, and then we will wrap this interview up. This is basically where I just ask you random things and you answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess. Let's go.
All right. Favorite food? Go.
Pizza.
Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Favorite book?
0 to 1. Peter Thiel.
Oh, yep. Favorite workout?
I'd just say like a HIIT workout, like I don't know, burpees. No, that's not.
Best business advice?
Less is more.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh gosh. The hawk.
3 things you're most grateful for?
My health, my family, and a God that loves me.
Amen. And if you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, Jeremy, what is that billboard going to read?
Serve others.
Well said. Crush that rapid fire round. And Jeremy, my brother, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, man, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers, and breaking down the blockchain and the personal branding game so well. And just for being, in my life, in my business, in my brand, and just being such a guiding light and being able to, collaborate together, but also guide when I go astray or when I am confused. And it's been really important for me and my brand and my mission to have you involved at the level you've been at. So I just want to say thank you, brother, for everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity, man. And just to be able to do life with you it means a lot.
Amen. I love it. Now, Jeremy, give the Happy Hustlers one final call to action and go ahead and mention the best place where people can connect with you online.
Yeah, I would say, again, just the easiest next step, and you can get all the details from here, is basically going to that free brand call / freebrandcall.com/JW, If you want to dive deeper into this. And naturally, I'm out on all the different social platforms. It's the Jeremy Weber is the handle across all of them. So, but definitely, if you want to dive deeper into this and just get some value and figure out your strategy to kind of take your brand and the business to the next level, take us up on that free call. And it's a great next step.
Love it. Now, final question. What does happy hustling mean to you, Jeremy?
Man, I think for me, it's doing something every day that's primarily grounded in serving other people, because that's going to light you up and fill you up in a way that nothing else will. But doing it in a way where it also creates space for you to live your life, and your life is not your work, right? Like, that's a key part of your life, but you gotta create space to serve your family and serve your faith and serve yourself, like take care of yourself, right? There's kind of these key dimensions of life, and it's easy for work to kind of be all consuming. And frankly, I struggle with this a lot. And so that's why I just applaud what you do, is helping people create that better balance, have big impact, but do it in a way that also takes care of themselves and those people that are closest to them. Right. I mean, it's fundamental. It's not always easy, but it's like, if you're striving to try to work towards it, applaud you for it, for sure.
Well said. Mike drop. Jeremy Weber, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, y'all.